Most of us content creators, freelancers, YouTubers, we all tend to follow very similar footsteps. We all start our journey with a phone. Any phone you have handy, you start taking videos, you start learning the basics like composition, exposure, focal lengths, frame rates, and it gets to a point when you start outgrowing your phone and you want a better quality image, so you save up your money and you buy your first mirrorless camera, your first lens, mic and a monitor or something to monitor your image with, and then you end up with something like this. And sometimes you don't know what to get, and in this video we're going to go through a lot of the gear that I've used, that I bought, that I use day to day in my shoots, and how they make my life easier. And maybe you think about buying them if you're not sure about them. Here you might see them, or maybe how I use them, and that gives you ideas on how you can incorporate that into your gear, into your lifestyle and your shoot style. So for the first setup, I'm going to start with a minimalistic style where it's nice and easy to walk around. It's not very intrusive. I do a few weddings, and this is how I would approach when I first meet the couple or the bride and you show up. You don't really want to show up with a massive cinema rig or gimbal and start pointing things at people's faces because they get uneasy. So if I was to buy my first camera, this is just my point of view at least, but I'll definitely buy a cage. A cage will A, help you in the long run, and B, it protects your camera and protects your investment. Definitely would not like to see anybody drop the camera and have no cage. They're not too expensive and definitely will save your camera, and a lot of the times if you are to drop them accidentally. Thank God I haven't yet, but yeah, at least I'm covered in that regard. Once you buy your camera and your cage of choice, in this case I've actually got a bit of a mismatch here. I'll put all the gear list in the description below, but this is one of the first cages that came for the FX3 and FX30 out of small rig, but then I ended up buying the hook lock small rig cage for my FX3. The main reason is that I already had the original cage, so I didn't want to have two of the same, and I kind of like the idea of some of these components you'll see further on the video on the hook lock system. So depending on your needs, I'll probably, if you don't have the audio handle, I'll probably just get the standard cage that came for this FX3 and FX30, or again you can get any cage, tilter, whatever it is that you want to do for your camera. So it's not relevant what brand. The idea is it has to be compatible with what you have, the gear you have around it, and what you plan to do going forward. So think ahead and not just that's the cheapest or that's the most expensive, therefore is the best. So sometimes you have to do a bit of research and see what suits your needs. In this one I've got the hook lock top part of it, which you can see here. The top rail actually is pushed out a bit down to away from the hot shoe part of it, kind of like in more conventional cages, and allows you to access the hot shoe, because with the original cage that covers, it goes right along the front here and it covers the hot shoe, so it kind of becomes unusable. So if you have a DJI mic and you want to have this sort of run and gun style with just handheld situation, you probably won't be able to connect this part here, which is the DJI connector receiver. This will normally go on top of the camera like that, and if you were to use the old style cage, then yeah, you wouldn't be able to do that. So I haven't bought that connection yet, but it's something that's on the card. I don't really use this handheld type scenario too often. And I can also put the connector or receiver at the top of the camera, as you can see it here on the hot shoe part of it. And the idea is that that won't slip out. I've added a bit of gaff tape underneath it, because if you don't, it'll slip out. So that's quite a bit of a something that I sort of saw another creator do it. But yeah, I actually struggle to get it off. I'm trying to hope that I don't break it. Oh, shit, where did that go? But yeah, so I don't know if you can see it on the camera there, if it'll focus on it there, but I got a bit of gaff tape there. And the idea is that it creates friction between the hot shoe, because if that wasn't there, it's quite wobbly. But yeah, so if you get the adapter, you can definitely put it on the top of the system, and it'll just sit on top of the camera like that, and then you can put any handle or anything like that on the nasal rail. So that's something to think about if you got the DJI system. Something to definitely keep in mind is if you are wanting to do something like that, get the hook lock, and if not, like me on this one, in this particular scenario, I just put it on the side of the cage and attach any cables to the camera if I need to. If you are to get your first camera and lens Depending if it's APS-C or full frame, regardless what it is, I would get the equivalent of a 24 to 70 or 28 to 75, whatever it is you can afford. Whether it's f4, f2.8, continuous, it depends on your budget. It depends what you can afford, and try and you know, get the best you can, but don't be put back, or don't think that you can't do anything with a f4, because you definitely can. As long as you have control with lights, or shooting during the day, you should be absolutely fine with an f4 lens or anything like that. I'll die on this hill, but definitely don't get variable aperture lenses. It's just a pain in the butt trying to constantly change your exposure or your levels or any settings as it changes with the zoom range. So yeah, definitely stick with a 24 to 70 range to start with your first lens. Definitely invest into a V&D. This will 100% help you in your cinematography, especially if you're outdoors and you don't have to, you know, crank your shutter. And again, if you have to crank your shutter, go for it. It's not, you must get the shot regardless if you crank the shutter. Nobody's going to care if there's a bit of motion blur or not. Pixel peepers will, but don't worry about it. Crank the shutter if you need to, instead of I'm not going to shoot that because I don't have a V&D. So in this case here, I've got the Sigma 24 to 70 Mark II f2.8 with a 125 V&D from Nisi. These are probably my favorite. I've said it in other videos before. Nisi is probably my favorite type of V&D. They're not as expensive as I love the Polar Pro idea of the magnetics, but they're just a little bit too expensive, and there is a color shift as I've seen from other reviews, whereas these ones have hardly any color shift. And I really enjoy the system where you can sort of suction cup any other filters on top, and even the lid is a suction cup on there. So yeah, really rate them. They've come out with a new magnetic system, which I haven't really delved into it, but I've already got two of the same, so I'll probably will stick with just what I've got, and maybe in the future maybe sell these if I really want to, or if it's a really good system, and I'll probably look into buying the magnetic ones. And another noteworthy mention is the Freewell. They create a very inexpensive V&D, which is, I think, is a 2 to 5 and 5 to 9. That's probably what I started with. They got me through a lot of weddings, initial shoots that I did like for events, but yeah, I started noticing that there was a lot of color shift in those. I still got them. I still use them if I have to. If I need three angles and all three need V&D, one of them will have a Freewell because I only got two Nisi. If you don't have the budget for a Nisi, go for a Freewell. Polar Pro, don't get me wrong, no hate on them. I love the look of it, matte boxes, all that, but I just don't see myself getting a matte box or the Polar Pros just because of budget. For this particular V&D I bought the combo from Nisi, and it comes with a quarter mist. If you slap the other filter on top of that, then you end up with, I think it's 5 to 9, which will help you out really in shooting in the middle of the day. So yeah, and then you just pull them out and you just put them in the bag and they're gone. So that's enough about V&Ds. I highly rate them. Very good product. So if you can get up here. So there you have it. That's as simple as it gets. Lens 24 to 70, camera, then you set to go. You can go and shoot anything you want. Obviously don't forget about USB cards. This particular camera's got dual slots. At the moment I've got none of them, but so don't show up to a shoot without memory card, because you just wasted everyone's time. So yeah, don't forget that. Always remember. Another thing that I didn't mention is this particular strap. This strap, I actually bought it separately because it didn't come with this cage, but it did come with a hook look cage. So I now got two of these straps. You really appreciate this strap because it helps you hold and grip your camera. So I definitely recommend this strap because it adds support and stability to your wrist, and in long shooting days you're definitely going to thank me after for having support, and actually it adds a bit of safety as well, because if you happen to let go of your camera, it's not going to go anywhere. So the next item on the list is a monitor. The monitors normally help you just to see the image a bit better. It's a bit bigger. It's a lot bigger than your little screen on the back of your camera. They also have cool tricks like false color that tells you if your exposure is correct, or help you import a LUT. A LUT is a lookup table which adds all the color and stuff you would normally see on post, especially if you do an S-Log3 with Sony or any log type shooting. These monitors, you can import a LUT into the bottom with an SD card or USB drive, anything like that, and then whatever you see in your monitor in post is kind of what you see on the screen. This one in particular is the ultra bright. I think it's 3000 nits. It's a bit of an overkill even outdoors. It's super bright and it drains your battery a lot, but it's really good. Like, it's bright as daylight, and you're not going to have any issues seeing the screen and your image with this particular one from Field World. Sometimes I shoot in the middle of the day, and this is probably going to be my pick of screens to take out because of that brightness and flexibility, especially when using a V-mount. I guess it's a bit better with the batteries, but yeah, it does drain these big batteries quite fast. With the hook lock system, it does have a NATO rail. However, this one works particularly with the hook lock cage because it's got these little tabs. As you push them, it creates pressure and it stops them from slipping. And on this top rail, you can see it's got a couple of indentations on the top rail. So then when it slides into place, it just sticks and it doesn't slide either or. And it's got a quick release button which allows you to move the screen in and out quite easily. It doesn't have end stops like other top rails, so keep that in mind, because if you push it too hard, it will send your monitor flying. So yeah, I haven't had that yet happen, but I can see that there's no end stops, so yeah, just keep that in mind. But when it comes to installing it, you just push the button and slide it to the slots, and then that's not going to go anywhere. I'm pushing as hard as I can and it's not even moving. So definitely very safe system once it's in place, but once you push the button, you know, there's nothing stopping it from flying in that direction. So now that we've got our monitor in place, I guess we'll get the boring part out of the way, which is your HDMI cables. I bought a handful of these, some long ones, short ones, coiled ones. This one in particular is from Conda Blue. It's a coil cable. I can't remember the length, but it suits perfectly for this particular rig because I don't have to coil it around anything. I just put one there, one to the monitor, and that's it. I mean, it doesn't get in the way. It's kind of tucked there. I don't have to wrap it around the top of the monitor or anything weird. So it just looks nice. It looks tidy, in my opinion. This is optional. Again, I talked about I use the DJI. I'm using it right now, but you can use wireless microphones. I sometimes use this just as a shotgun mic for scratch audio. If I've got somebody else mic'd up, this might help me sort of align the videos and everything in post. But yeah, so I just normally just put it into the hot shoe, tighten that up. This is just a cheap Rode mic Go, I think it's called. It was kind of one of the first things I bought, my first mic, and I actually used to boom this because I never actually had any other mics, quality mics, but that actually worked. I was quite impressed. I just bought a 10-meter long cable and then boomed that little Rode mic, and yeah, it worked. I didn't think it was going to, but the quality was not bad. So if you at a pinch get one of these, boom it, you'll be surprised, and you can put it straight to the camera. So it kind of saves you another step in post, and I think that cable is about $50. So it goes from the back of this Rode shotgun mic and directly into the back of your camera. You got 10 meters of cable. That should be more than enough. And then that way also you have audio straight into your camera and you can monitor it like for interviews. So yeah, it's a bit of a cheap option than buying a fully dedicated mic, and then you have to get a receiver or something that takes a XLR connection. And for interviews, I hate having these DJIs on site. The reason you're seeing it now is because I'm kind of using all my gear to make this video. So ideally I wouldn't normally have this DJI mic just sticking there, but anyway, so yeah, this shotgun mic I'll never sell it. It was only $100 New Zealand, so maybe like 50 US. There's no point in selling it, and yeah, it works great for scratch audio. And if I need to, if my other mic fails, if I forget my other mic, that one's gonna get boomed and I'm gonna have some audio. You could probably stop at that point. Depends how you hold your camera. I normally hold it from underneath and zoom if I need to, or like rest it on the bottom of my palm. But a lot of the times I find that I like to hold onto something on the side. So this is kind of something that I've used on and off. It's probably not what it was intended for, but this here is a NATO rail top handle from Small Rig. I don't even know if they still make this anymore. It was quite expensive at the time I bought it, and it was very hard to get. It was never in stock, but the main point of this handle is that you turn the top and you can actually rotate the handle in relation to the NATO rail. The idea is that you can, I wanted this so I can use it as a top mount, side mount, and but you can also put it here on the gimbal and actually use it as a side mount. So sometimes I hold it from there and the back, and that kind of gives you two points of contact, and I find them a lot easier to hold on to. So going back to the rig now, I normally use this either as a top handle as intended. Sometimes I put it that way depending on the balancing of the rig. But in this case, I use it a bit differently, and I don't know if I've ever seen anybody else use this particular handle this way. I sometimes use this as a side handle, and I find it quite comfortable. I find that it gives you good grip, and you can kind of turn it. It's got a hot shoe on the top, it's got a hot shoe at the bottom. Yeah, I just find it real handy, and if I need to, and if I want to sort of swap into vertical mode, so all I need to do is rotate the handle, and now I've got a vertical rig without changing much. And another good thing about this particular monitor mount is that it's got a pivot point here, and you can actually rotate and twist. So now I've got a monitor that I can see vertical, and I've got a handle that I can hold my camera in a vertical mode and then quickly swap back to horizontal. And I've got, you know, in a matter of seconds, I'm gone from vertical to horizontal. So yeah, this is my running gun minimalistic setup, and this is what I choose most of the time to start shooting weddings at the beginning of the day. A lot of the times you don't have too much interaction with the bride, the groom, or the bridal party, and sometimes showing up with a big rig, it could be quite intimidating. And showing with something minimalistic as this, it's a lot less intrusive, and you can start creating that trust that you need sometimes to get the emotions out of people. And you can kind of stand backish with something like this. You just a fly on the wall, capturing the moment, and then you start sort of learning about them and what sort of motivates them to talk. If you come back with a big rig, camera, screen, V-mount, just 9 yards, they're gonna get shy. It's like, this is a reality TV show. So yeah, definitely this is something that I love to use, and just sort of stand there in the corner and you know, zoom in if I need to. It's great. It meets all my needs, especially at the beginning of the filming day. If I need to, I just change the batteries, the Sony batteries, and that's it. This should probably last half a day easily. So yeah, that's my minimalistic rig, and now let's move on to my full-on rig. So throughout all our journeys, we all have a dream camera, and for me, it always been the FX3 or the A7S3. I didn't care which one I could get, but obviously this was the one that I always wanted. And finally, after 2 years of grinding and saving every dollar I had, I was lucky enough to be able to afford a FX3. And because I had started with an FX30, I was able to use all those components that I already had and transfer them straight into my FX3. As previously mentioned, I ended up buying the hook lock cage. This is a new cage from Small Rig. It's much like the old one. Part of the difference of this cage is it has a lot of the grooves for the easy quick release type style, like I showed you with the previous monitor mount. And as I mentioned, the idea of that top rail is so you can have access to the hot shoe and not have interference when you're using a top handle. But I don't really use it, so that's why I put it into my FX30. A lot of the times I end up using the 24-70 Sigma that I showed you on the last rig. However, I purchased a Sony 35mm f1.8 for a lot of interviews. One of the things I've been wanting to get into is to start shooting with primes, and instead of buying the G Master lens and going all in, I decided to buy the Sony 35mm f1.8. The idea of that is just so I can use it for interviews, and a bit more that running gun style. Instead of using the zoom, I'll just walk further or closer to the subject so that I can reframe. This lens is great, it's super fast, really accurate, and autofocus is great. I've seen a lot of reviews where they mention that the G Master lens has a lot of breathing compensation issues and you have to use the breathing compensation in your camera, but that also brings your crop a little bit to more like a 40mm. And I didn't want to have any of that issues, and I thought f1.8 is enough, and also the price is a third or half at least. So it was a no-brainer. I didn't have to overcommit, and the image out of that 35 little lens is great. I think it's exactly what I wanted, just to get my feet wet into the prime world, and hopefully one day I end up with a cine lens like a Blazer or anything like that. It'll be quite handy to have in my arsenal. So now that we have the bare bones of the system, which is your lens, camera, and cage, we can start adding other components like the top handle. This top handle comes with the FX3 included, but you can buy it as an add-on for the FX30. You can plug the audio straight into the system and it goes directly to your camera through the hot shoe. And you don't have to worry about syncing audio in post with that particular system. You boom your mic, you run the cable straight to the system, and then you got your audio sorted, and you can monitor it on the camera, or you can put headphones to your camera to listen to it. So I love that system, and I think it adds an absolute benefit to the workflow, and I don't have to worry a lot about audio, because in this particular system, even though it's not 32-bit flow, like kind of like the DJI mics, what you can do with this particular handle is you can save two tracks, one at a high and one at a low level. The idea of that is you have a backup. So if something becomes too high of a volume or peaks, then you can use your other track with a lot of volume. You got two XLR inputs in here and one 3.5mm jack into the top corner there. However, you can't use that one in conjunction with these two. At the back of the unit, you can actually select which ones you want to use the audio from. And on this side of the handle, you can actually control each gain for each track, and also control whether you want phantom power for your microphone. One of the great things about these cages is they all come with these particular little tools. I don't need the multi-tool. I think this is enough for what I need. I've never had an issue just using this on site or on a shoot. And the great thing about this as well is that you can actually just tuck it in the back there, and it always stay there and you won't forget it. So now we're going to move into the V-mount plate, and this is something I kind of seen someone else do. I'm not going to take credit or ownership of I did it first. This here is the V-mount plate from Small Rig, and also a Small Rig DJI Ronin gimbal plate. The idea of this is when you have the camera in place and sometimes you have a big lens in front of the camera, it tended to sort of be top or front heavy. So the camera will nosedive, so I wanted to put something that will hold it back. The idea of this is you can slide your camera and your V-mount in the back, and then that makes the whole system complete, and you can power everything through the V-mount, and it keeps it all together, like, kind of like a Cine Rig or Rigid Pro, I think it's called. So I decided to look up a way that I could stop that from happening without buying rods, without buying a whole bunch of extra gear of what I already got. Once that's in place, you can't rock it forward because that plate stops it from rocking forward. Another benefit of having this plate at the bottom is if you've got a tripod that takes this particular mounting, you just clip it on and then take it away. Really easy, slide it in, slide it out. In order to power this particular rig all day long and not have any issues swapping batteries or having to switch off your camera to swap batteries, I end up using a V-mount 99 watt hour battery. This particular battery has a USB-C port on the top and a D-tap on the side. And once you clip that in, you can power your entire unit with just a couple of cables. Obviously, the whole point of this FX3 is so you can have XLR inputs into your camera. I ended up buying the Sennheiser MKE600. This has probably been my favorite mic, and this is kind of the mic that I always wanted, and I finally got it. You have to buy a rubber insert so then it fits into the FX3 top handle. Otherwise, it'll just slide in and out and fall out. And there you have it. Once you've clipped that in, it ain't gonna go anywhere. Then I found this particular Condor Blue XLR male to female, and it's just perfect. It's just the right size. I think it's the 8-inch or something like that. I'll put the part number and description down below. You just clip that in, clip the other one on the other side. Nice and easy. Very short cable from A to B. you can actually rotate the back of these with an Allen key, I believe, and you can actually position where the cable goes. I was quite happy where that sits, so the cable's out the way. When I grab the handle, I don't have to worry about it, and that's all done. Moving along to powering the system, there's a couple ways you can power your unit, and the way I've chosen to do this is with a Conda Blue USB-C to USB-C cable. The idea of that is so then I don't have to use a dummy battery, and if I have to swap the battery or the V-mount, then I'm out of luck and I have to shut down the system because there's no internal battery with a dummy battery. So this is probably my preferred solution, and that's the one I probably recommend to anybody using a V-mount. So once you plug that back there, I kind of route it behind the screen so it's out the way. So I've used the 90-degree side on the camera side. The idea for that is that the cable can reroute itself back down and then back up into the V-mount. I can tuck the camera back into place, and then the USB-C can go into the top of the V-mount. Once you powered your camera, you're going to need a monitor, and again, there's a few ways of doing this, and sometimes I do one or the other. I've got the options at the moment where you can use a dedicated MPF battery. These are alright. This is only a 1000 nit monitor, so it's not as bright as the one I've talked before, which is 3000 nits, and this battery seems to last quite a bit. The monitor I have in my hand is a 7-inch monitor from Portkey. Again, I'll list the part in the description, but this monitor, I was a bit skeptical with the 7-inch. I thought, why not? Let's try it, but I wasn't sure if I was going to like it just because of its size and how big. I thought it was going to be just too big, and I wasn't going to like it. Now, I hardly use my 5-inch monitor. I only use it if it's super bright outside and if I really need a second monitor. But other than that, I always use this Portkey monitor. It's bright enough with 1000 nits, and just sounds wrong, but once you go 7-inch, you can't go back to 5-inch. Another thing that I really like about this monitor is that it has the HDMI port at the bottom of the monitor. That way, when you put in cables, it comes from underneath it and not from the side, which are easy to knock off or break. So yeah, I'm very, very impressed with this Portkey monitor, and it's a little bit expensive, but it was definitely worth the money. I do know that they sell a cage for it, and I might get that because what I find is that it's a little bit plasticky, and when you start moving the monitor back to front, it just doesn't seem like it would be nice for it. So if you put a cage around it, then it keeps that safe, and you can, you know, twist and pull as much as you like. And to hold my monitor, I've come up with a bit of a solution with using a small rig. I don't know what they're called. I think it's not a Magicom, but it's along the lines of a Magicom, and then a PGY-TEG monitor mount. So the PGY-TEG gets threaded into the top port there, and then what I like about this particular system is it's such an easy quick release. You push a button, and then that's how it would sit if you wanted to go horizontal. But if you wanted to go vertical, that's easy. So it takes you 2 seconds to flip your monitor from vertical to horizontal shooting. Most of the times I just end up to use this in horizontal mode, and then it gets bolted to the top of the camera. So now that we actually mounted the monitor, again, like I mentioned before, and I just plug it into the bottom of the monitor, and as you can see now, it's out the way. I don't need to go there. I just normally hold it from under here, and then I can shoot wherever I need to, holding it from the bottom, and it's out the way. And if I need to move the top part, I can just undo that, move it up, move it down, do whatever I need, place it where I want it to be, tighten that back up, and off I go again. And finally, this handle, there's nothing special about this handle. It's just a small rig side handle, just for support. If I need to, sometimes I do put my neck strap on the side here, but not often. I end up just holding it like this, and that way it gives me a lot of flexibility to go side to side. And if I want to, if I rest it on my wrist, gives me a third point of contact. But as I mentioned before, you probably also need an ND filter. So you can control your exposure when you're shooting out in sunlight or really bright situations. So there you have it. This is my full cinema rig, and this is what I tend to use for most of my video work. I either use the top handle for audio, otherwise I'll just put a normal handle, probably the wooden handle from small rig, and then put the monitor on top. But ideally, all I need is this V-mount, powers up my unit, and if I need to, I can run another cable from the D-tap to the monitor to power that as well if I really want to, but most of the times I just use these batteries, so then I've got all day battery for my camera and I don't have to worry about my camera batteries. So there you have it, guys. Here's my full-on cinema rig, and this is what I use for most of my video work. It's something that I worked for 2 years, and it's definitely been a struggle, but I finally got there. I finally got what I wanted. And the thing of these things is they're never finished. There's always something new. There's always something different. Like, I would love to have a different lens, but for the time being, this is it. This is something that I can use for years to come, and I wouldn't have to change a thing if I really wanted to. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. I know it's a bit of a long one, but if you made it till the end, you're an absolute legend. Please like and subscribe. It helps the channel. I'm trying to grow this channel, and maybe one day this might be my full-time job. Who knows? Let's see where this takes us. Thanks, guys. Peace.